My name is James Crawford. I'm 77 years old, and I've spent most of my life on autopilot, driving without checking the map, burning fuel without thinking about where I was headed or whether the tank was running low. Just moving forward, always moving, assuming the road would sort itself out if I kept my foot on the gas long enough. It didn't sort itself out. Roads never do that. Life never does that. And by the time I finally pulled over and looked around, I had wasted decades driving in circles, wondering why the scenery never changed, and why I felt so lost in a life I had supposedly built with my own two hands. What I'm about to share with you isn't theory. It isn't philosophy I borrowed from a book or a podcast or a seminar I attended over a weekend. These are 12 lessons that life beat into me over the course of 77 years of stumbling and falling and getting back up and falling again. Each one left a bruise. Some left scars that I carry to this day. A few of them nearly broke me entirely, and every single one of them could have been avoided or at least softened if I had been willing to listen when wiser people tried to tell me decades earlier. But I wasn't willing to listen. I was too young, too stubborn, too absolutely certain that my situation was unique and that the rules which governed everyone else's life somehow didn't apply to mine. I thought I was the exception. I thought I would be the one person in history who could ignore the patterns and still come out ahead. I wasn't the exception. Nobody ever is. Here are 12 lessons. Take them seriously. Use them. Don't make the same mistakes I made when the easy path was sitting right in front of me the entire time. This is the foundation that everything else is built upon. If you don't understand this one deeply and personally, then nothing else I tell you today will matter. I waited for a hero for most of my adult life. I never used that word. I never consciously thought of it that way. But underneath every job I worked, and every relationship I entered, and every plan I made, there was this quiet, invisible expectation humming in the background that at some point someone or something external would arrive and fix the parts of my life that I couldn't figure out on my own. I waited for a boss who would recognize my talent without me having to fight for visibility. I waited for a partner who would somehow fill the emptiness I carried around in my chest like a stone that never got lighter. I waited for a lucky break that would fall from the sky and rearrange my circumstances without requiring me to rearrange myself first. Nobody came. Not because the world is cruel or because people didn't care about me, because that's simply not how life operates. Your mess is your mess. That word sounds harsh, and I mean it to sound harsh because softening it would be doing you a disservice. The problems in your life exist because of choices you made or choices you failed to make. And the only person who is going to sort through them is the person staring back at you in the bathroom mirror every morning. The day I stopped scanning the horizon waiting for rescue and started looking at my own reflection with honest eyes was the day my life actually began to change. Not overnight, not dramatically, but the direction shifted because the responsibility shifted. Being your own hero is not glamorous. There is no cape. There is no applause. There is no dramatic musical score playing in the background while you stride confidently into your new life. It is waking up every single morning and accepting fully and without complaint that whatever happens today is yours to deal with. Your problem, your responsibility, your opportunity or your failure, depending entirely on what you choose to do with it. That realization is cold when it first hits you. It strips away every comfortable excuse you have been hiding behind. But on the other side of that coldness is something most people never find: real power. The kind of power that comes from knowing deep in your bones that you do not need anyone to rescue you, because you have already been rescuing yourself quietly and unglamorously, one difficult morning at a time. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. I heard someone say that when I was in my early 30s, and I dismissed it immediately as bumper sticker wisdom. The kind of thing that sounds inspirational on a coffee mug, but collapses the moment real problems show up at your door. I was completely wrong. It took me another 3 decades of suffering to understand just how profoundly accurate that statement actually is. You cannot control what happens to you. People will betray you. Businesses will fail. Health will deteriorate without warning. People you love will die or leave or disappoint you in ways you never thought possible. The world will deliver circumstances that are unfair and undeserved and completely outside your ability to prevent, no matter how carefully you plan or how desperately you pray. But you have what I call absolute tyranny over your response, not partial influence, not a suggestion box where you submit your preferred reaction and hope for the best. Complete, total, undeniable dominion over how you choose to respond to whatever life throws at your feet. When my business partner disappeared with our money in the 90s, everything I had built over 20 years turned to dust in a matter of weeks. I could have let that destroy me. For a while it nearly did. I sat in the wreckage of my professional life, feeling sorry for myself and waiting for someone to come along and tell me it wasn't my fault and that everything would be okay. Nobody came. Because nobody was supposed to come. That was lesson 1, showing up again inside lesson 2. One morning I sat at my kitchen table. Coffee had gone cold. My eyes were exhausted. The house was quiet in that terrible way that empty houses are quiet when everything has gone wrong. And I made a decision. Not a loud, dramatic, cinematic decision. A quiet one. Almost a whisper inside my own head. What happened is done. I cannot undo it. But what happens next belongs to me entirely. That single shift from victim to author changed everything that followed. Not the circumstances. Those were still devastating. But my experience of those circumstances, and more importantly, my actions in response to those circumstances, transformed completely. Your perception is not a clear window through which you see objective reality. It is a lens, a filter. And the quality and calibration of that lens determines what you see far more than what is actually standing in front of you. For most of my life, my lens was dirty and distorted and calibrated almost exclusively for threat. I saw danger where there was opportunity. I saw criticism where someone was trying to offer helpful feedback. I saw endings where there were actually transitions. I saw enemies where there were teachers trying to show me something I was too proud or too frightened to learn on my own. My lens filtered out every good thing and amplified every bad thing, and consequently, my world looked exactly as dark and threatening and hostile as that broken lens made it appear. Not because the world was actually that dark, because I couldn't see the light through all the grime I had allowed to accumulate on my perception over decades of fear and cynicism and defensive thinking. When I finally began deliberately, consciously, intentionally choosing to look for possibility instead of threat, and for lessons instead of punishment, and for doors opening instead of doors slamming shut, my entire world rearranged itself. The external circumstances didn't change overnight, but my experience of those circumstances changed immediately. And over time, as my better perception led to better decisions, those better decisions led to better circumstances, and the cycle began feeding itself in a positive direction for the first time in my life. Perception is not passive observation. Perception is active creation. Whatever you look for, you will find, because your brain is designed to confirm what it already believes. If you believe the world is hostile, your brain will collect evidence of hostility and ignore everything else. If you believe the world contains opportunity, your brain will collect evidence of opportunity and ignore the noise. Fix the lens, clean it, recalibrate it, and watch everything you see begin to change. You have a bank account nobody told you about when you were born. It doesn't hold money, it holds time. And unlike every financial account you will ever own, this one operates under a single terrifying rule: withdrawals only, no deposits, ever. You can never add to it. You can never replenish it. You can only spend what's there, and you have absolutely no way of knowing what the remaining balance is. Every second of every day, a withdrawal is being processed. While you work, while you sleep, while you scroll your phone for 2 hours, looking at other people's lives instead of building your own. While you sit in traffic, cursing at cars that can't hear you. While you argue with your spouse about something neither of you will remember in 6 months. The account is draining, and the balance is shrinking, and you cannot see the number, and you cannot slow the rate, and you cannot pause the withdrawals. I treated time as if it were infinite for most of my existence. I wasted years on things that produced nothing meaningful. I spent entire decades operating on autopilot, doing what was expected of me, rather than what actually mattered to me. I poured months and years into television programs I can't remember, and arguments I can't recall, and worry about outcomes that never materialized. I'm 77. That number sounds enormous when you say it. It is not enormous. It is a handful of decades, a few thousand Mondays, a collection of seasons that blurred together so fast that standing here now looking backward, the entire journey from birth to this moment feels like it lasted about as long as a single deep breath. Tomorrow is not a day, it is an excuse. It sounds like planning. It feels like commitment. It is neither. It is procrastination wrapped in the language of intention, and it has destroyed more dreams and wasted more lives than any external obstacle ever could. I use tomorrow as a storage unit for everything difficult. Every conversation I needed to have went to tomorrow. Every habit I needed to change went to tomorrow. Every dream I wanted to pursue went to tomorrow. And tomorrow loyally passed each item to the next day, and the next, and the next, until years had passed, and the things I was supposedly about to do were a decade overdue. Every broken promise to yourself destroys self-trust. I broke so many that a voice in my head would whisper, "No, you won't," whenever I announced a new commitment. That voice had decades of evidence. I thought discipline was a cage, the opposite of enjoyment. I was exactly wrong. Without discipline, every impulse controls you. Every craving, every distraction becomes your warden while you pretend you're free. The most liberated people I've known had the strictest routines. Structure freed their energy for what mattered because the essentials were already handled automatically. A healthy man wants 1,000 things. A sick man wants one. I treated my body like a rental car for decades. By my late 50s, the bill arrived. Blood pressure, joint pain, exhaustion, all preventable, all the result of neglect. Your body is the only vehicle you get. No trade-ins. Maintain it or lose everything that depends on it. Money can't buy happiness, but financial stress destroyed my first marriage. Every bill was a war. Learn about money. Earn honestly. Save consistently. Invest patiently. But invest in yourself first. Skills and knowledge travel with you everywhere, and nobody can take them. My daughter used to lie awake listening for my car. Most nights she fell asleep before I arrived. Eventually she stopped listening entirely. She stopped because I taught her through years of absence that I wasn't coming. I changed at 53. Late, but not too late. Your company replaces you in a month. Your children remember forever. In my late 40s, everything felt hollow. That's not crisis. That's your voice finally loud enough to hear saying, "This isn't what I wanted." Listen to it. Sit with the discomfort. Ask which parts of your life are real and which are performance. The answers will be uncomfortable, but necessary. I was right about most arguments. It cost me more than being wrong ever could. Catherine said I'd run out of friends before arguments. She was right. Choose connection over competition. Let the chicken be overcooked without commentary. Time accelerates in ways nobody warns you about. 20s feel infinite. 70s feel like one long afternoon. I'm 77 and it feels like a blink. Whatever you're going to do, start now, because conditions will never be perfect, and the fuel is burning whether you drive or not. Living on autopilot is driving without a map or fuel gauge. You're moving but going nowhere. Pick up the map, check the tank, take the wheel. 12 lessons, 77 years. Nobody is coming to save you. Control your response. Fix your lens. Guard your time. Kill tomorrow. Embrace discipline. Protect your health. Respect money. Show up for your children. Listen when your soul speaks. Stop needing to be right. And move quickly because it is later than you think. The car is yours. The road is open. The fuel is burning whether you move or not. Start driving with your eyes wide open. That's all I've got for today.